Be ready. 5 seconds. The G20 foreign ministers meeting settled on a chair's summary and outcome document similar to the one issued after the G20 finance ministers meeting in Bengaluru on Sunday. Briefing media persons after the meeting, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar sought to drive home the point that there was agreement on 95% of the paragraphs in the outcome document. This was endorsed later in the evening by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken when asked if the failure to bring out a joint statement would continue into the summit in September. Jaishankar, however, avoided a question on whether the meeting between U.S. Secretary of State and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on the sidelines of the G20 was assisted by India. Apart from the inclusion of the two paragraphs on the war in the document, the Russian side was also upset by the Western countries' refusal to accept Russia's demand that the document include a call for an investigation into the Nord Stream blasts. Though Russia and China had signed up for the two paragraphs of the Bali Declaration that they are opposing now, Lavrov said the situation on the ground had changed since November. Without specifically mentioning Nord Stream, the outcome document does have a reference to terrorism targeting infrastructure. Russia had accused Ukraine of terrorism after the Crimea bridge explosion in October. That the divide within the G20 would remain was evident before the meeting itself, after the group photograph was given a miss for the second year in a row. The meeting began with an acknowledgement of this divide. As foreign ministers of the G20 group of major economies gathered in New Delhi last week, it was hard to escape a sense of déjà vu. Their two-day meeting ended without a joint statement. Their divisions over the war in Ukraine proving impossible even for seasoned diplomats to work around, just as had happened the previous week when G20 finance ministers had met in Bengaluru. Prime Minister Narendra Modi referred to the crisis of multilateralism in his address to the foreign ministers. It was an assessment that the Secretary of State of the United States of America agreed with at a press conference, though he added that diplomacy allowed for workarounds. On the margins of that conference, Mr. Blinken met his Russian counterpart for the first time since the Kremlin's forces launched a full-fledged invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, at a time when neither Moscow nor the West-backed government in Kyiv is showing any inclination to move towards peace negotiations, this much needed contact between the top diplomats of the world's biggest nuclear powers is an example of what multilateral events can offer.